Hi, and welcome back to U.S. History with me, Mr. Snyder, and today we're going to discuss our last of the movements of the 1960s and 70s, the environmental movement. So, the rights revolution influences all aspects of American life, including the people's right to a safe and clean environment. Silent Spring states that human actions are harming not only the environment, but the people in the environment. So, public awareness of environmental issues increases during this time and prompts an important debate between about the role of government in environmental regulations. So, just so you know, toxic waste, if we had to define it, means the poisonous byproduct of human activity. And Silent Spring is written by Rachel Carson, and in the book, she describes the impact of the runoff of pesticides on animals. And so she insists that human activity is altering the environment. And around the same time, there is a fire on the Cuyahoga River in Cleveland, and the spark ignited debris on the river surface. And the grassroots movement at this time takes place to make more people aware of this. And so now every April 22nd, we celebrate Earth Day. And in the first Earth Day in 1970, 20 million Americans took part in events across the nation. And with an issue this big, it forces the environment to be taken up by politicians. So Nixon, he didn't go into the Oval Office campaigning on environment, but he becomes an environmentalist because he sees what the people want. He passes a lot of environmental legislation, such as establishing the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, which cleans up the environment and eliminates pollutants that poses a risk to public health. Clean Air Act, which deals with emissions from factories and cars, Clean Water Act, which limits pollution from agriculture and industry of our water, the Endangered Species Act, which protects endangered species and animals, and after Nixon in 1974, after Watergate, Ford creates the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, which makes sure that nuclear materials are handled safely without any harmful impacts on people or in the environment. There are some environmental disasters out there. One of those is Love Canal. Love Canal is a community right on the border with Canada near Niagara Falls, if you've been there. But citizens here have high rates of cancer, birth defects, and miscarriages. And we find that industry has been dumping toxic chemicals into the ground, and the rain has been spreading these chemicals around. So this is what's causing it. In 1980, something called Superfund is established by Congress so the EPA can clean up the nation's worst hazardous waste sites, and this one takes until 2004 to clean up Love Canal. 3 Mile Island in 1979 is a nuclear power plant kind of on a river, and near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, the nuclear reactor core melts down when the cooling system functions, and the incident is contained and there's no real health risk, but it does make Americans fearful of nuclear power for 25 years after that, although now there are a bunch of new nuclear plants in development and they're being built again. It is efficient, but the waste from it is highly toxic. This does bring up Fifth Amendment challenges where conservatives begin complaining about the rights to their own resources. They are feeling that the government is interfering with private property rights and that this environmental regulation harms their businesses and hampers job development. Money that could be going to train people or to businesses is now going to clean up the environment. And still, even to this day, Americans remain divided on what role the government should play in regulating the environment. And lastly, this isn't in the learning targets, but just so you know,